If your water was contaminated today, would your water plan hold water? Some people do have a plan, and often these are contaminated with half-truths, old wives' tales, and misconceptions and myths that just aren't true. So today we're going to bust 5 of these myths to make sure that you know what works, what doesn't work, and how you're going to take care of your family in a crisis. Hey Provident Preppers, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Kylene. And today we are going to jump into 5 myths that you might think you have clean, safe drinking water, but actually you don't. But before we do that, there's something that we really need to talk about. So sometimes people use water disinfection and water purification interchangeably,
Right.
And they 100% are not. So when we disinfect water, we kill the microbiology stuff that's in there, the viruses, the bacteria, the protozoa, anything living, we're killing it so that it can't reproduce and make us sick. But disinfection doesn't remove chemicals or pesticides or chlorine or any of 100 other things that could make you very sick. So when we talk about water purification, we have both disinfected it and we have removed any contaminants that could make you sick so that the water is clean. Make sense? Well, today we're gonna dive into that just a little bit deeper, and we've got 5 myths. John, talk about myth number 1.
Number 1, if water looks clean, it's safe. Now, I think most of us realize that this isn't true because there are a lot of things, a lot of very dangerous things that can be in very clear, clean looking water. So just because it looks clean doesn't mean it is.
You need to know your source. If this water came from a clean municipal supply, it's your tap, you're dealing with something completely different than even if you got it from what looks like a clean mountain stream. If in doubt, we are always going to treat the water.
Now, we could say on the flip side of that, there are some maybe muddy waters, cloudy waters, that would be just fine. If they don't have any nasty things that are gonna have long-term effects on us, and they don't have any microbiology things in them that are going to make us sick. The way you see this water doesn't necessarily reflect what's in it or whether it's safe.
And one thing we should talk about, so if you have particulates in your water and you're going to try and disinfect it, you need to remove those particulates first because the little micro creatures can hide out in those and avoid being deactivated. So if you've got muddy water or water that has particulates in it, you either need to let the water settle, scrape off what you can off the top, and then let stuff settle to the bottom and only use the more clear, or some way filter it, whether that's through a cloth or a coffee filter or a paper towel, anything to get rid of those particulates. Myth number 2, boiling fixes everything. It absolutely doesn't, because if you bring water to a boil, 212 degrees for a minute, and if you're at a higher elevation, you're gonna need to boil longer. Whatever your elevation is, find out exactly how long you need to boil it, but we bring it to a boil. 212 is that magic number, and it kills all the bacteria, viruses, protozoa, anything that's living in there that can make you sick. But like we talked about before, it's not gonna take out any of the contaminants. So all of those chemicals or other things that can make you sick is still gonna be in that water. And boiling is like the most effective way to kill all those little organisms. So 100%, it's good. It's more effective than chlorine or anything else you could use. But
Just
as a standalone,
get all those other things. So.
Yeah. Myth number 3 is I'll just store bleach. Now let me tell you a couple of reasons why that's not a good idea. First, I would much rather boil if I could than use chlorine bleach because I'm putting more chemicals into my water. That aside, it's really hard to find the right kind of chlorine bleach that you can use for disinfection. It's really hard. If you go online and you start searching, you just can't find. It's got to be straight bleach. It can't have any fragrances in it. It can't be splashless. It has to be just nothing but pure sodium hypochlorite with a couple things in it. So it's really hard to find it. Now, this, if you notice the date on my bottle, It's
Yep.
1223, which means that
It's almost 3 years old.
it's not good for water disinfection because you've got 6 months to a year. If it's kept cool, if it's warmer, it's even less time. So this isn't good for water disinfection anymore. It's not a good part of your plan. Now we could use calcium hypochlorite.
Right.
And if you click the card in the corner, I'll take you to a post that we created on how to use that. But storing calcium hypochlorite while the shelf life is much, much longer than this, there are some definite problems with it because as it oxidizes, like it totally
it's an
rusts
aggressive oxidizer.
Yeah, it's bad. And so we do store some, but we have to store it very, very carefully. Chlorine is a good way to disinfect. Now we should talk about this. It kills viruses, great. Bacteria, great. But when it comes to some of the larger protozoas and stuff that have that,
especially Cryptosporidium.
yeah, with
Yes.
the thick outer shell, it doesn't do as good of a job. But there's one thing that we found that you can do to make your own fresh chlorine.
So one thing that got me just a little bit excited the other day is we found this little device that creates sodium hypochlorite, which is basically bleach. That was kind of cool to me because I can run this thing off of a little power bank. So what we do is we just put a couple of little spoonfuls of salt water in here. This is canning salt, but the spoon comes with it, so it gives you the directions, and now you can see that this is starting to bubble. So with the salt water here and just this power station, this device is actually creating sodium hypochlorite. So in about 10 minutes, we'll have 500 parts per million, which isn't super strong. In 20 minutes, you can have 1,000 parts per million, which is perfect for disinfecting. So you could put that right into a spray bottle for spraying counters and things. My goal was, okay, we can use this to disinfect water. Well, the label and the instructions are very specific. This is not for culinary water or potable water use. So
actually, it says not for human consumption.
Yeah.
And you would never want to drink the stock solution because this is what this is creating is similar to bleach. It's the sodium hypochlorite that's an ingredient in the bleach, and you would never drink that straight. It would make you very, very sick.
Right. So in a crisis situation, if I didn't have any other way to disinfect some water, I would use this because I'm confident enough in the device, I'm confident enough in the technology and the ability to test that, so you can put this in there and it will tell you what strength that is. It gives you a little color chart here. So if we left that in there for 20 minutes, we tried it the other night, it was 1,000 parts per million. So based on that, you could use that for water disinfection. You'd have to use a lot more than with the bleach because this is 1,000, this is 82,000 parts per million. So this is much, much, much stronger, but this is strong enough to disinfect, and you could disinfect water with it. It would just take more than the few drops that they tell you to use of regular chlorine bleach.
And we have those calculations for you in case you had to use this. And remember, you don't want to use more than you need because this is actually dangerous stuff, right? You don't want to be drinking it. That's why I prefer boiling. But this was kind of cool when we found it because it was inexpensive. Now, they do make them like this MSR one.
Yes. The MSR one, and this is a reputable company, and this is for backpackers. So this little kit comes with some rock salt, this device which runs off of 2 3-volt batteries, and then some test strips. So this device actually allows you to pour the rock salt into this chamber, add just a little bit of water, hit it with the electricity. Again, it'll create that sodium hypochlorite, which you can use. And this one is on label for use in water. This is for backpackers, and they can use that to dose their water bottle or their canteen and make sure that water is as pure as it can be.
Well, not as pure. Make sure that it's killed.
That it's safe to drink.
So back to myth number 3. This has a very short shelf life.
Yeah.
This is very dangerous to store. It has a very long shelf life, but dangerous to store. This has some, you can buy some more expensive ones online. You really have to search. This one was pretty cheap, but this is kind of nice. In fact, there is a homemade version of this when I used to be the editor for the Journal of Civil Defense, and it was put in one of those magazines. I'll see if I can find a link for you. But you have to be careful. And the reason why this is so hard is because sometimes this won't always produce exactly what you think it's going to produce. And so you've just got to be really careful. You've got to always have the test strip so that you know what you're doing. And quite frankly, I wouldn't use it as my first defense. I'd boil my water. One more thing that we forgot to say. So once you mix up your stock solution of calcium hypochlorite, it's going to degrade faster than like this does. So you want to make sure that you mix up fresh batches so that you have the right amount of chlorine available to kill all those critters in your water. And the same thing with this. It says that you need to use it within a week so that the strength is what you want it to be. But you know, even if I was just needing to disinfect surfaces and things like that, this would be super handy.
Yes,
super,
absolutely.
Super handy.
Myth number 4, my filter removes everything.
And truthfully, some filters are significantly better than others. Like this Gravity Berkey, and I know there's a lot of stuff going on there around Berkey, but this Gravity filter seriously removes just about everything. Especially, and one of the things that we would do with this is we would pre-treat the water to make sure that we'd kill the viruses, because it takes out a lot of the chemicals and it'll take out the big stuff and most of the viruses. But I think if we could, we'd definitely pre-filter it. Like we would clarify the water, dump it through fabric or something so that we're putting the cleanest water possible in here. And we'd either want to boil it or use chlorine to make sure we've killed all of those viruses that might sneak through. But this is something that's pretty close to killing everything. But then you've got different filters. Like you have to read really carefully what this says. So this one does actually a pretty good job on the viruses and the bacteria and some of the heavy metals. It doesn't remove chlorine, but they have other varieties of the same brand that will remove the chlorine. So you've got to just know what your filter is going to remove. We keep ours all in these little kits so that we have everything we need. But the Sawyer filter is a fabulous filter, and it has a certain size hole. Anything that's smaller than that hole is going to go through. Anything that's bigger is going to be stopped. Every filter is just different, and you have to know the limitations. And doing multiple things, like when I talked about boiling or using chlorine before I put it in here, that makes sure that you have the ability to purify your water and not just disinfect your water.
Right. There's also SODIS, and SODIS is solar disinfection, and it is a great process. Again, you're dealing with some of the same issues, though. It's not going to take out chemicals. It's not going to take out, a lot of those kinds of things, salts, other things that can be detrimental to you. Again, everything has its limitations, and you need to understand what those limitations are. And in most cases, we're going to use a 2-step process or maybe a 3-step process.
So we keep everything really organized, right? Because we want to know what's happening. And when Dawn talked about SODIS, if you click the card in the corner, it'll take you to a video that we recently created all about this. So SODIS, or solar water disinfection, uses the sun to kill all the living things, but it can't take out any of the chemicals or the pollutants. And so it is great for the one thing. And like this, if you go to that video, there are all of these little cards. So I know how to do this, but if it were my kids or somebody else that was using my supplies so that they could be safe, they need that knowledge. And so that's one of the reasons why we keep this in here.
Myth number 5, I have a few cases of stored water. That'll do it.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Water like this, super convenient.
Very.
But it won't store forever because these are designed to break down and they will leak, they'll cause a mess. And sometimes you've got toxins leaching into the water from the plastic, especially if they're stored someplace hot. So this isn't the best way. Do I think everybody should have a couple cases of water bottles? Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
We totally have
easy to throw in the car, but it's not enough.
Yeah. Remember that when we're talking about disinfecting and purifying water, The safer the source, the less you have to worry about that. Well, the safest source is going to be water that you have already stored at home. Jonathan and I highly recommend using storage tanks. Now, we love Rockwell water, and their storage tanks are incredible, but they're also expensive. If you have the money to invest in them, 100%, we would encourage you to do that. If you don't, there's all kinds of storage tanks and containers that you can pick up on Marketplace or a local classified that have been used that you can clean out and fill up with water so that you have water stored. It's really important. You want to make sure that the plastic is food grade and that it has never held anything that's not edible. That's really important.
And again, we recommend at least 2 gallons per person per day for at least 2 weeks. We're talking more than just a few cases of water. We're talking about some significant storage, because that, as Mama said, is the safest water you're going to have. So for sure, this is a great idea, but it's not going to be enough. We need more.
So we've got the storage tanks that we talked about, but the storage tanks are really big and they're kind of inconvenient in a lot of ways. Now, the ones that we have, like the ones we have downstairs, are the Galonzos. They're awesome, and they do have like a tap. You just turn on a tap and you can put your pitcher under there and you can get the water. But what if we have to leave? What if we have to evacuate? John, he's pretty darn buff, but there's no way he can strap a Galonzo on his back and take it with us. So sometimes some of the smaller containers, like they've got the 4-gallon cubes or the water brick or the aqua bricks. Those are expensive, but those are also good options. So we want as much water as we can store, because water is so important for life. Now, one of the other things that we do is we can a lot. We're on a little homestead. And so we always store our bottles, instead of storing them empty, we store them full of water. It means that when I go to use them, I know they're clean. And it also means that that space is full of water. So it just helps us have a little bit of extra water.
So as you can see, there's really no magic bullet. There's no one thing that can cover everything. So you need to understand limitations. Your knowledge is going to be the best thing that you have, and you use that knowledge to create a plan that's going to take care of you and your family.
And don't believe those myths out there, right? Just because somebody is telling you something doesn't mean that it's true, or because grandma did it, or you saw it on some YouTube video. Do the research, because water is critical. You have to know how to disinfect it and how to purify it and make it safe to drink for you and your family. Even if you don't have what your #1 tool would have been, how are you going to do it if you don't have any of the things that you had originally planned to have?
And now for the question of the day. What new things did you learn today? And are there any other myths that we should bust and clarify? Drop it in the comments. Let's have some discussion. Let's learn from each other, get smarter, and let's create a plan. And thanks for being part of the solution.